I first suspected my wife of infidelity after my son Matt's 13th birthday. I picked up the pictures at the drugstore on my way home from work. Julie wasn't home yet, so I sat and looked through the pictures. What a wonderful day it had been. Matt was so surprised when we got home and found he had a surprise party waiting for him from all his friends. Looking through the pictures, I found a really nice picture of Matt and my friend Steve. It was a close-up of their faces. Steve has been my best friend my whole life. My kids call him Uncle Steve and his kids call me Uncle John. That's how close we are. Looking at the picture that showed both of their faces, I noticed something I hadn't noticed before. They had the same hair color black. They had the same color green eyes, the same narrow nose. They had similar skin color and facial features. If I didn't know better, I would have sworn they were father and son. A few shots later there was a picture of the kids at a party, but something in the background caught my eye. The background was a picture of Julie and Steve. They were in a very intimate pose. It looked to me like they were about to kiss or had already kissed. I scrutinized the rest of the photos looking for anything else that might show the two of them together, but found nothing. I took the two photos out of the stack and put them in a desk drawer in my home office. The fact that my son looked like Steve and that I had a picture of Steve and Julie in an intimate pose didn't prove anything, but I immediately began to wonder if I could think of any other evidence that Julie might have been cheating on me. I didn't have time to ponder, because a few minutes later Julie walked through the front door, kissed me, and headed upstairs to change. This was what she did every day when she got home from work, and I had never had any reason to suspect her of doing this before. With suspicion in my mind, I headed up the stairs to see if I could catch her doing anything. When I entered the bedroom, Julie was surprised but didn't give any sign that my presence was unwelcome. "Hi honey, how was your day?" asked Julie as she changed into her work clothes. "Not bad, I stopped by and picked up the pictures from Matt's party. They turned out great. We made a lot of them, of course. 5 rolls for the birthday party?" I asked. "After all the trouble we went through to make him think he wasn't going to have a birthday party, and throwing him a surprise party like that, I'm damn sure he'll have lots of pictures to remember," said Julie. "It was great that all his friends, family and even Steve, Mary and the kids came to the party," said I. Did I flinch at the mention of Steve's name? Was it some kind of movement, but natural, or a reaction to the name? "Yeah, it was a great party," said Julie. Other than a possible flinch, I couldn't get anything out of her yet. I decided that I would keep an eye on her and Steve for as long as possible to see if they were up to anything. I didn't resort to high-tech tracking devices, recording devices, video cameras and phone taps, at least not right away, but just started keeping tabs on where Julie said she was going to be and then finding reasons to call to see if she was there or not. A few weeks later, the body of a missing little girl was found in the lake. And as luck would have it, her family had done a DNA profile so that she could be identified in case anything happened. Julie gave me the perfect opportunity to find out what I wanted to know. "John, I think we should do these DNA profiles on the children. If something happens and a body or body part is found, I'd like to know if it's our child or not, wouldn't you?" asked Julie. "You're absolutely right. That girl had no teeth and the body was badly decomposed, so the usual methods wouldn't work, and I think having the kids' DNA on file would be a wise decision," said I. I said I would take our 4 children, Matt, Ashley, Hannah, and Sarah, to the office to have them tested and put on file with the county. When I was alone in the family doctor's office, I turned to him with a request. "So, John, how's it going?" asked Dr. Smith. "I need copies of the tests. It's not that I don't trust the county to have the information if something happens and I need it. It's just that I'll feel more comfortable if I have copies of them in the safe at home too," I said. "Sure, John, no problem. Many parents have made the same request," said Dr. Smith. 2 weeks later I left town for a week on business. With DNA tests in hand, I went to the doctor's office to be tested. "Doctor, the woman I lived with for 8 years claims I am the father of her 4 children. She is now demanding child support from me. I have reason to believe that I may not be the father of one or more of them. I have made her provide me with DNA profiles of the children. I want you to tell me how many of them I will be financially responsible for," I said. Of course, it's not a pleasant situation when someone tells you a child is yours even though it isn't. I've seen several marriages break up because of that. Are you saying you are not married to this woman? Asked the doctor. No, ma'am, we broke up 3 years ago. I am married to another woman and this whole alimony thing really pisses me off, said I. Before I got home, I had an envelope of results in my hand. I hadn't read them yet, but the closer I got to figuring it out, the more I doubted I wanted to know. When I got home Friday night, there was a note on the table from Julie saying that she and the kids had gone to her mother's house for the weekend. With a whole weekend to think of what to do if things turned out to be as bad as I feared, I decided to open the envelope, but only after calming my nerves with a tall whiskey. I immediately poured another one and drank it quickly when I saw the results. None of my 4 children were actually mine, but it was pretty clear that they had the same father. After drinking to my heart's content, I passed out. Around 4 in the morning I woke up and began to wonder what I should do. I suspected that Steve was the same man who had fathered my children, but I had to make sure. At that point, I decided to turn to high technology. There's a store not far from my house that specializes in surveillance equipment, so I went there on Saturday morning and bought everything I needed. I installed tiny motion-activated cameras in every room of the house, sound recorders, bought tracking devices on Julie's car and Steve's truck so I would know where they both were at all times. I set it all up to dump the information to a computer in the basement that I could access with my laptop from anywhere. I had installed the tracking device on Steve's truck on Saturday afternoon when he stopped by and invited me over for a meal, since I had called to say that Julie was out of town for the weekend. At least I could be sure he wasn't with her over the weekend. I spent most of Sunday morning going through Julie's things looking for anything that might give her away. As far as I knew, she didn't keep diaries, and her computer appeared clean. In the back of her closet was some beautiful lingerie I hadn't seen before, another potential clue. When Julie and the kids came home Sunday night, I greeted them with a big hug. That night in bed, Julie got me thinking. "John, you don't get too excited yet, but I think I'm pregnant," said Julie. "Pregnant?" asked me. "I think so. I think I'll go to the doctor tomorrow and see what he says, but I have a feeling," said Julie. At this point I decided that I was going to go to the doctor to get a fertility test too. Julie and I tried and tried and tried before she got pregnant with Matt. I used vacation days at work to be able to attend to her as often as possible. It was like that with all the kids. I know it's not easy to get pregnant, but we went through all that for the first 4 and now she got pregnant without even trying? That seemed suspicious to me. On Monday, I drove to a neighboring town and went to a clinic where no one would recognize me. I gave them my sample and waited. The tracking devices showed that Steve drove to work and then went to a hotel on the east side of town. Julie's car was at the doctor's office and then went to the same hotel. I had seen enough, so I went back to work. That night Julie was so happy about being pregnant, about being blessed with another child. I couldn't contain myself from pulling out all the information I had and lay it all out for her. Over the next few weeks, I gathered more information and found out that they follow a pretty set routine. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday they would meet for a long lunch at the hotel. They always had the same room. I took pictures of them going in and out of the room, but there was no need to see what was going on inside. Because on Tuesday and Thursday they would meet at our house and make love in our guest bedroom. The more I saw, the harder it was for me to keep from exploding. Finally, after 2 months of watching them, I recorded a phone conversation that threw me off balance. "Hi, is this a good time to talk?" asked Steve. "Yeah, John's playing golf and the kids are off at their friends' houses," said Julie. "I've been worried about John lately. He's been acting strange. Do you think he might know?" asked Steve. "He hasn't figured it out in 16 years. So how will he figure it out now?" asked Julie. "What about Matt? He looks more and more like me every day," said Steve. "So what? John thinks I'm the perfect wife. He'll never suspect I'm cheating on him, and he won't believe that I've been taking steps for 15 years to have only your kids and not his," Julie said. "I'm still not sure I approve of that," Steve said. "Take it back or you can never touch me again," said Julie. Okay, I take it back. I can't wait until Monday, said Steve. Oh baby, I can't Monday, I have a lunch meeting, it's a very important case, so we'll have to take a very long lunch on Tuesday, said Julie. Okay, what time should I come over? Asked Steve. Around 11 o'clock, said Julie. I'll see you then, said Steve. I listened to this conversation on Sunday. On Monday, I took enough information with me to start filing for divorce on grounds of adultery and went to see an attorney. Okay, John, what reason do you want to use for divorce? Asked Dave. Marital infidelity, said I. You bet that's very hard to prove in this state, said Dave. Well, maybe you can tell me if that's enough to prove it. Pictures of my wife and her lover. I have videos too, several pieces. Phone conversations about their affair, including one in which my wife admits that she deliberately took steps to have children with her lover, not me. And finally, a DNA test that showed that none of the 4 children I raised were mine. Is that enough? I asked. Yes, that should be more than enough. I will serve your wife with divorce papers immediately, said Dave. Can I pick the time and place when she will be served with the papers? Asked I. I suppose, but what do you mean? Asked Dave. She's supposed to meet her lover at our house at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Can we serve her papers at 11:30 or 11:45? I asked. If serving her in the middle of the adultery, she will have a witness who can swear to it, then yes, that is an acceptable idea, said Dave. Would it be illegal if I invited my wife's parents and sisters, a few of her friends, her lover's wife, and possibly their bosses? I asked. I see, you want a little payback. Well, if you tell them it's a surprise for the newborn and they don't know in advance what they're going to see, it'll be fine, said Dave. Great, said I. Leaving the lawyer's office, I made some phone calls and invited everyone except Mary to a surprise baby shower for Julie. Mary, of course, would tell Steve, and then he would realize something was up and not go. At 10:45 a.m. on Tuesday morning, I called Mary and asked her to meet me at our house to talk for a while. I asked everyone to wait quietly in the yard until everyone was gathered for the party. I told them that Julie was asleep at home so we would sneak in and catch her off guard. Dave was there with the divorce papers ready. We quietly snuck into the house and made our way to the guest bedroom. I swung the door open and we all yelled, "Surprise!" And a lot of surprised people gathered in the room and in the hallway. Mary immediately started yelling at Steve. Julie's family started yelling at her. Julie started yelling at me. Steve tried to gather his clothes and run out of the house, but his boss blocked the door and fired him. In the midst of all this chaos, Dave calmly walked over to Julie, who was lying on the bed under a sheet and crying uncontrollably. "Julie Davis, you are hereby served with divorce papers filed by your husband John Davis. He is seeking a divorce on the grounds of adultery. Mr. Davis does not claim custody of the 4 children already born or the child in your womb, as DNA tests have shown that Mr. Davis is not the biological father of any of the children, and a recorded phone conversation between you and one Steve Wilson claims that you intentionally prevented Mr. Davis from getting you pregnant, so that you could have children with your lover. Mr. Davis is claiming 90% of all jointly acquired assets. If you do not agree to the terms of these papers, a court date will be set. Have a nice day," said Dave. Dave delivered his speech in a loud, unemotional voice, almost robotic. He handed the papers to Julie and walked out. Both Julie and Steve lost their jobs. Steve divorced Mary. Julie's family, who had always liked me, disowned her. I didn't even get 90% in the divorce. I had to settle for 75%. But in a separate lawsuit I did get a settlement from Steve for alimony. I loved Julie with all my heart, and if I had rushed and confronted her from the first moment of suspicion, it would no doubt have broken my heart. Knowing the depth of her infidelity and betrayal made it easier for me to cut her out of my life. I still see her around town from time to time, and each time she tries to apologize to me, but I won't listen to her. She cheated on me for years. She intentionally kept me from having her baby so she could have Steve's baby, and then she made me believe I was the father. If it wasn't for the fact that I loved her so much, I would be happy to see her dead, but no matter how much she hurt me, I will always have memories of the good times. The kids were very upset to learn that Uncle Steve was actually their father and their cousins were half brothers and half sisters. They all spent a lot of time in counseling about it, and I'm really ashamed that I did that to them, but it was another measure of Julie's revenge. She wanted Steve's kids, not mine, and now she has to live with them hating them for what she did. They still call me daddy when I see them,